Well, we're on the home stretch, aren't we? It's almost 5 o'clock. Thanks everybody for joining us, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for inviting GRI to speak on this important subject. I'm really going to talk about two things. I'm not going to talk about the issues. If you showed up here this morning not knowing much about the issues, you could be forgiven. If you don't know much about the issues now, you're probably in the wrong room. I only want to talk about two things: goals and action. Now, Sustainable Development Goals are a fundamental shift in the way that policy works with business around the world. They are here to align business and government towards a common goal, well, 17 common goals. And they set the agenda not only for business and government, but also for policy and the way we work for the next 15 years. And children are clearly a main focus of these goals. Children are specifically included in 8 of those 17 goals. And one of the most interesting things is that these are interconnected challenges. It's not just about children's rights, it's about human rights, it's about corruption, it's about all kinds of different factors that are included in the Sustainable Development Goals. And so many of you are like, well, haven't we been here before? Millennium Development Goals, aren't these the same thing? And they're not at all. They're very different. They're different because they engage the private sector, and they always have. The Millennium Development Goals were put together without business in the room, which is one of the reasons that they were only partially successful. And number two, they engage the investor community, which is a key stakeholder in making sure that these things work. Number three, they're not reinventing the wheel. They're taking what worked in the Millennium Development Goals, throwing out what didn't. And then lastly, it's building on existing infrastructure, global standards like GRI, to reach more companies, more investors, and more policymakers. So, in short, these are the goals that the world is getting behind, which is great, because the world needs goals. But more than goals, the world needs action. And this is usually the part where things kind of fall off the rails a little bit. So let's talk a little bit about that. For those of you who don't know, I'm not sure how many don't know, but GRI is the world's largest sustainability standard in the world. Right? We set sustainability standards in 100 countries. We work with 50 governments to enable policy. We work with almost every stock exchange in the world. We have tens of thousands of businesses using our platform. And what it does is it's essentially a basket of risks for organizations. And they go through this exercise of identifying what those risks are and then choosing which ones are relevant to them. And then they talk about those. They incorporate them into their policies. They incorporate those into their investment plans. Governments incorporate those into their foreign direct investment in emerging markets to ensure that things like human rights, child labor, corruption, environment are being taken into account. That's what standards are for. When we see a lot of these numbers up on the screen, this is where the numbers come from. We're the architect of the world's sort of sustainability data. And it includes a lot, not only climate change information, gender information, pay equity, but specifically around child labor and human rights. So GRI is not just about what companies are doing, but what investors are doing, right? And it's sort of a common, even platform on which all data is created in the sustainability world. Our standard includes references specifically to child labor, but also many others, including human rights, but we work with many others because we put a strong emphasis on collaboration. With the SDGs, we built one of the only tools that exists in the world that actually align what businesses are doing today around human rights and child labor, and how they can actually align with the Sustainable Development Goals themselves. It was launched by Ban Ki-moon just about a month ago in New York. We also work with the ILO to ensure labor is in this conversation as well. We collaborate with UNICEF. In 2014, we launched the Children's Rights and Sustainability Reporting Initiative. We also link to the UN Guiding Principles on Human Rights. Collaboration is absolutely key. And it's key because this is where business and investors start. They start by looking at that entire basket of risks. And when they see that child labor, child issues, human rights are a key risk area, that's when they go deep into these things. And that's the role for things like the Atlas that we saw earlier on, or many of the initiatives around the world that focus on these specific issues. So they start broad, on these broad risks, and then they go deep, deep into those issues. But is it enough? And I think it should be obvious from today's conversation that of course it's not, right? Of course it's not. And that's why we need sustainable development goals. We need clear goals to work towards and tools in the marketplace to be able to track our progress and show the world how we're doing and progressing towards those goals. So SDGs are not an answer, right? They're not a panacea. They are a guide, a goal, and we need action through the tools and the platforms and the standards that are available. And the last thing I would leave you with is an important notion, is put your faith in collaboration. Look around the room here. We're all from different areas. We come from business, we come from investment, civil society, and so on. It's the collaboration that makes this work, right? So instead of trying to reinvent the wheel, instead of trying to preach to the converted, we need to collaborate. And separately, we will fail. But together, we can build the world we all need to protect our economy, our world, and our children. Thank you very much.
Thank you.